I'm Anand. I'm co-founder of Gramner, which is a data science company that was recently acquired by Straive, where I now lead innovation and R&D. I live in Singapore and spend most of my spare time playing Minecraft and reading manga. This was first quoted by Simon Willison, who's a Gen AI researcher, and with good reason. A lot of the behavior that we're seeing about LLMs is surprising and is emergent. What I mean is a simple set of rules, like we have a bunch of neurons that connect with each other and they pass electrical signals to it, is able to generate some incredibly complex output. Now, this is not unusual. We've seen this with chess, where a simple set of rules can lead to an explosive set of games. We see this in John Conway's Game of Life or in fractals, where a simple equation can create extremely beautiful and rich visuals. Large language models are of that kind. And the thing is, unlike most other systems that we build, the emergent properties are not something that we truly understand. So, put another way, it's easier to think of these models not as deterministic things that we've built. It's literally easier and more useful for us to think of these as aliens who come our way without any kind of manual. And when we do that, the way we interact with these systems ends up being less surprising and more productive. So firstly, I've stopped coding. And this is after 30 odd years. Instead, I just prompt and the system codes. This has enabled a whole bunch of things. First, purely from an economics perspective. Earlier, stuff that would have taken a few days to build now takes a few hours. And therefore, more stuff is worth building simply because it's much lower cost. Secondly, it also removes a psychological barrier. What I mean is, earlier I would have thought, oh, this is too tough, let me not bother. Now I think, oh, I don't know how to do this, but ChatGPT probably does. So what the heck, let's go ahead and build it anyway. The primary driver is the same thing that I use when buying literally anything, whether it's a phone or a laptop or a model to pick, which is what is the cheapest model that solves my problem. And at the moment, there is a fairly good evaluation of models in terms of capability, which is LMSys's leaderboard, where models are ranked based on how well humans evaluate it based on an ELO score. There is also a clear objective price availability for these. So I stick to the models that have the best, the Pareto optimal price and quality trade-off. In other words, let's take today Claude 3 HiQ. Now, there is no model that is both cheaper and better than Claude 3 HiQ. Similarly, GPT-4, there is no model that is both better and cheaper than GPT-4o. Similarly with Gemini 1.5 Flash. And there are a set of, at the moment, 4, but this changes on a regular basis, models that are the frontier models, so to speak. And what I do is pick the cheapest of those frontier models. If it doesn't work for me, go to the next and then go to the next. Completely agree. And hallucinations are in any case a feature of LLMs. So depending on what we use LLMs for, we may have to decide whether it is fit for purpose or not. I've stopped thinking of LLMs as models and really think of them as people. So the question is, do people hallucinate? Well, we don't really call it hallucinate. Sometimes we say they are ignorant. Sometimes we say they are bluffing. Sometimes we say they're just, sometimes they are hallucinating. And is a process something that we would give to a human and rely on it for accuracy? Sometimes we put in a whole set of guidances around it. We make sure that we pick the right person, we make sure that they know their stuff, we verify it, we have them provide sources. All of these are things that we can do to LLMs as well. But yeah, when it comes to creativity, I think it's a really powerful feature. I mean, even a random number generator, a link that takes you to a random page on Wikipedia can provide incredible amount of knowledge. Today, when I interact with an LLM, I get that kind of benefit in that one of the prompts that I've added to my ChatGPT personal instructions is suggest follow-up questions. And anytime I ask it a question, it ends with a few more things that I could ask. And in that, it brings in a certain creativity that doesn't come naturally to me. And from that perspective, the more it hallucinates, the better it is. So, yes, hallucinations are a problem for accuracy, but they can be overcome. But they're in any case a feature of LLMs. Yes, I do believe that models by themselves are getting commoditized. Now, that does not mean that models cannot be monetized or there is not enough value in monetizing them. There are a few organizations that will obviously be at the forefront and will be able to create better models, and people will constantly move towards those. And they will likely have a competitive advantage. But a significant chunk of the value would come from downstream work. And because LLMs are kind of like Intel's chips in that age, they would be so ubiquitous that they would be used all the way from PCs to phones to washing machines to anywhere. The same kind of generality is something that LLMs are bringing in today. So I suspect we will take them for granted. So I suspect the economics won't be like a commodities business, but we will start taking LLMs. Maybe we have even started taking LLMs for granted already. The most interesting work that I'm seeing is with multimodal content, meaning where we are looking not just at text or just at images or just at audio, but all of these put together. A good one is looking at call center recordings and understanding from the emotion what the customer's state of mind is, and in real time recommending to the call center agent what they ought to be saying. Now, this could be flipped around as well. You could take a video recording of, let's say, an analyst meet that a company is releasing. Now, as a stock analyst, I may be interested in specific things from that video, but I don't want to have to sit and watch the entire video. What can the system extract from the video that is personalized to my interests? That's the reverse of this kind of multimodal input. In other words, the themes that we are at the moment most interested in are A, what can we do with not just text but any kind of input form? That's very exciting. And secondly, how can it impact an individual at scale? Take a whole bunch of people but give answers to each person, which is specifically what they want. What I'm looking forward to next is agents and workflows, meaning rather than me getting the answer and doing stuff with it, why can't it do the stuff by itself? So if that means connecting it to emails, if that means connecting it to APIs, if that means it has to have a conversation with the customer on WhatsApp, let the system do that instead. A big part of the challenge is availability of GPUs. That is a constraint, and the entire world is working towards making more GPUs available. So when that happens, a big part of the cost problem will get solved. A second big challenge that I see in enterprises is an understanding of LLM reliability and security. What if the answer is wrong? And if I can't run the LLM within my organization, do I have to send the data externally? And these are constraining the growth of LLMs. A third thing is simply awareness and the ability to use LLMs well. Not everyone understands LLMs well enough, and evangelization there is going to help a lot. But until that happens, this is a third bottleneck that I see in organizations. Interestingly, I would say English has started becoming more important than mathematics. Curiosity is definitely going to help. Earlier, we would look at the ability for people to get stuff done. In other words, provide the right answers. Today, we need to start looking closely at that. I suspect it's become, are they able to ask the right questions? Interestingly, I'm less a fan of models that generate text or images than of models that handle embeddings. That is, a step lower than that, which convert text to numbers. And the advantage with these numbers is that I can start doing comparisons between pieces of text, see what's similar. But to me, that literally takes the world of text into the world of numbers, which is something that I can manipulate far more accurately with far more confidence. And from that perspective, two models, one from Microsoft called E5 and one from Baidu called BGE, are my favorites. But if you did have me pick a favorite model in the text generation space, it would probably be PHI3 from Microsoft, which is more a small language model than a large language model, but is extremely capable, and it can run on my phone. The blog that I follow the most is Simon Willison's blog. He, whom I mentioned earlier, is one of the leading Gen AI researchers and posts some very interesting content. That apart, there are a bunch of news groups that are around. In particular, there is in India a WhatsApp mailing list for Gen AI that I follow actively. Firstly, I'll have to learn delegation. The equivalent of AGI is, imagine giving someone 10,000 associates who have all maybe done even a PhD for that matter, and you've got them all. Now what can you do with them becomes the question. I don't know. I'm struggling to figure out what to do with myself. So the kind of skills that we are good at, which are focused on execution, I suspect will have to change to how we give instructions, and that moves more towards a managerial skill. So what will happen to us? We'll all become managers, I guess, and probably even more terrible than we currently are. Hopefully, AGI will go a step further and take that burden away from us, and they will start managing themselves, in which case, I guess we'll all be looking for a job, not because we need the money, but because we're bored.